Welcome to our program on college admissions and college finance. We're pleased to have with us today two guests from Wayne State University, both directors at the university. And we have LaJoyce Brown, who is a Senior Associate Director for Undergraduate Admissions. And we have Michelle Locke, who is Associate Director with the Office of Student Finance. I'm Sharon Snodgrass, a member of the Farmington Hills Committee for Youth and Family. And we'll begin our informational seminar today with talking a little bit about where do you start with your child. If I have a new baby, I'm happy taking care of my child, and all of a sudden the new baby is in the 6th grade. So I read about college, I read about finance problems. My child says to me, "What about college, Mom?" So I'm going to ask both Michelle and LaJoyce, what do we do with our children when they're at middle school in terms of college preparation?
Well, middle school is actually a good time to start preparing for college. It's never actually too early to start saving for college tuition, but there are some steps that a middle school student can do at that stage to prepare for college. One is to develop good study skills. That's very important. Also develop reading skills so that they can read and think critically. Those things will be very beneficial in preparing for college. Middle school is also a good time to take a college tour. Many colleges, such as Wayne State University, offers campus tours where a current student will give the middle school student a tour of the campus. Also, middle school is a good time to start exposing the student to college programs. Many colleges, such as Wayne State, have middle school programs so that students are exposed and prepared for college.
And I'm interested in doing that at Wayne State. How do I call to schedule a tour?
Oh, absolutely. You can call Wayne State University 577-2100, or you can visit our website, wayne.edu. Tours are offered through the week.
Great, great. That sounds like a really beneficial thing a parent could do.
Absolutely.
And what do you think, Michelle?
Well, I think middle school is a good time for the family to start thinking about college and different college options. When students are touring different schools, they're getting an idea of where they want to go, what sort of academic path they want to follow. It's also a good time to start getting a grasp on what those costs and expenses will be. Many schools, just like Wayne State University, will post what average costs are so that families can look and see what costs to expect once their student is in school.
Do you think it's helpful if they have a relative that goes to school to go to one of their family weekends, or would that be helpful for a middle school student?
I do think it is important. I think it's useful for students to see people closer to their age going to school to experience what it's going to be like, so that it's not a foreign idea when they get to high school as to what school would be a school of both best fit. I think when it comes towards saving towards college finances, there are a couple different things that families can do. Of course, I think the students should understand whether or not they're going to be responsible for all of the expenses themselves, whether or not they're going to be strongly dependent on financial aid dollars. In addition, the family should start thinking about saving, whether or not the student themselves will begin saving, any gifts they get from family members.
So it'd be nice to Grandma and Grandpa right now.
Exactly. As well as making use of some of the programs the state of Michigan has through the Michigan Educational Trust or the Michigan Educational Savings Program. Both of these offer the families the ability to save money and put towards college tuition expenses with tax benefits.
Do you see a lot of students that apply at Wayne State have a MET program, or do you see that quite a bit?
I do. And what I think is very unique and special about these programs is that it doesn't necessarily have to be the parents that make use of these savings plans. I see students who have, for instance, a MET contract through the MET program that have been purchased from a grandparent or an aunt. The Michigan Educational Savings Program is nice because family members can donate. And so instead of cash to the student and then hope that they save that throughout the years.
Right.
They can donate directly to the program, it can earn interest, and really help them when they need the money down the line.
Great, great. Just kind of interest, Wayne State is a urban university, and we're talking about expenses of the students. Do you find that most students at Wayne State need to have a car, which is a major expense in a student's life? Do you find that most of them drive, or are there other transportation? Do they live down there?
You know, Wayne State University, while it is right downtown, does have some beautiful residence halls. And so we see students who are going both ways. And so a lot of times the students that I speak to when they're coming into are going through and weighing the options, whether or not they want to live on campus, which gives you the ability to really connect with other students, as well as spend all your time there. You don't have to worry about coming in for a study group on a snowy day. And weighing that against the benefits of living at home, having someone to help you with meal preparation and making sure you stay a little bit more on track. So really the students are looking at it, what's going to fit best for them.
Those are really good points. So we've talked a little bit about the middle school and a little bit about Wayne State. I moved my child's now in high school and I did nothing. I was busy, I did nothing.
Right.
But now they're in high school and I really have to get down to business. So what should I tell my child they should take it in high school, and what should I be doing since I now have them taking everything they didn't take before?
Right. So in high school, it's very important because college admissions officers look at everything a student has done from the 9th grade to the end of the 11th grade to evaluate for the admissions decision. So they really should take their English, their math, their social studies, and science classes and really do well in those courses. They may want to consider AP classes, which is an opportunity for a student to take an AP class in high school. If they pass the AP exam, many colleges, such as Wayne State, will take the AP credit. And what that means is it saves the student time and money in the long run because those AP credits count towards their college degree. Dual enrollment is also an option for students. Dual enrollment allows a student to take a college course either at their high school or at a college, and it counts sometimes for high school as well as college credit. That's also an opportunity for early college exposure for students. But
now, at the high school level, do the high school counselors suggest the AP classes for dual credit, or do the students know about? We're here in Farmington Hills, which is an excellent school system. Is that something that the students and counselors are really familiar with?
Yes, they are. And typically, if a student has exhausted all of the course offerings that the high school offers, that's usually the time that the high school counselor will recommend AP classes or dual enrollment classes. Both options provide exposure to college.
Great, great. And any other in the finance aspect?
As the student is taking part in high school, they've got extracurricular activities, and one of the things that a student should be thinking about is whether or not there's going to be scholarship opportunities tied to those extracurriculars. There are a myriad of different external groups and people who offer scholarships for different activities or participation in community, those sorts of things. And so as students are participating in these, they want to keep track of what they've done. For instance, Girl Scouts of America has a scholarship program that's offered for students who have completed a high number of community service hours throughout their Girl Scouting service. So being attuned to those, paying attention, and tracking that information. In addition, there are some schools that offer micro grants for being in touch with the school throughout their high school years. And so if the student has a school specifically they're already thinking about, they should be visiting their website and looking at the opportunities that they have out there for them.
So they almost need, from the 9th grade on, a checklist of where I should look for scholarships and grant monies. And I think the comment about activities that you're involved in, I do know that all the different credit unions usually offer some scholarships each year for application or for members' children. I know that the iron workers unions, they have, like Local 25, have scholarships, the Rotaries do. So there may be not a lot of them, but if there aren't that many students that apply, since you have to participate in that organization, what about these websites that say, look here for scholarships? Are those good, valid, bad things?
There's definitely plenty of information about scholarships out on the internet. It is always wise when you're looking at anything on the internet to be careful. As a rule, scholarship dollars go directly to a school and will never be directly deposited into a student's bank account. So when students are out there looking for scholarships, if they're being asked for bank account information to pay for anything,
that's really good to know.
It's time to back out. The state of Michigan, as well as Wayne State University, has scholarship information, which actually has linked to a few scholarship search engines. And as being part of those search engines, they've been vetted to determine that they are legitimate scholarships.
So they would be much better to use.
Absolutely, because then you know that it has been. And in addition, because there are just so many scholarships out there, these search engines help narrow down what would be applicable for the student.
Those are really great.
And also for students that can demonstrate leadership in their community, or perhaps they've done a lot of volunteer services, Wayne State offers the Detroit Leadership Award. And that's for students that attend a high school in Oakland County, Wayne County, Macomb County, or Ypsilanti. They would definitely need to write an essay demonstrating their leadership and volunteer services, and they'll need a letter of recommendation. And that scholarship is valued at $5,000 a year, and it's
year?
Yes,
Wow.
and it's renewable for 4 years. Yes.
That's really great. So one of the things the student probably should practice preparing is letters of explanation about themselves, and maybe have some references lined up.
Right.
So that they shouldn't be afraid to say, would you give me a reference? I'm going to apply for this. So they should know some people they can call besides their aunt and uncle.
Correct.
Or their grandma and grandpa,
Well, and that's one of
with
the
a different last name.
That's one of the skills you need in life, is being able to connect with people, being able to write a letter, write a statement about your goals. It's what's going to be able to help them to apply to college. It's going to be what's able to help them as they apply to different jobs throughout life.
So that's really interesting. Let's talk about going away to school or staying in home and staying there. And we talked a little earlier about, I went to Michigan State, and the consideration was Wayne or Michigan State, but I grew up with a big family, and I just wanted to get away from my family, so I went to Michigan State. It was a really intelligent decision. But you went to Wayne State.
Yes.
And what was your choice for Wayne State?
For Wayne State, I commuted. During that particular time, Wayne State did not have resident halls, so I commuted back and forth, which was an excellent opportunity for me. I still had my family support, but I was very involved in the campus community. I was able to get involved in student government, extracurricular activities, and I also worked a part-time job. And so it was really good for me to live at home and then commute and go to Wayne State.
Great. Michelle, how about you?
Well, I actually grew up on the west side of the state in a very small town, so getting a four-year degree was not an option while living at home. I opted to go to Michigan State as well because my big brother was there, and I knew that it was going to be okay if I went there. Because Michigan State is such a huge campus, one of the considerations I had was whether or not I was going to get lost there. And coming from a small school, I was kind of ready to be lost. But what also helped me is I was part of a residential college there. So I was able to be part of an environment where I lived with students who were also taking the same courses. Wayne State offers some of these same sort of programs themselves, and the students will actually live on the same floor in the same dorm, take similar classes so that you have a group of people that you'll be discussing the same sort of interests with.
Well, I think that point's really, really important, because I also went to Michigan State, and my major is math. And math is not a small group. I mean, it's just this enormous number of people just taking math. And I found you do get lost unless you have a special group. And I always recommend for my nieces and nephews who went to U of M or Michigan State is to go in the residential college, go in Justin Morrill. At U of M, there's several smaller schools Or if you're a particular dancer and you're always with the music department, so you have the same people all the time. But if you have just a general degree, that there's just so many people, you do need to have a group of your own. And particularly I think students that come from a smaller town, or if you come from a homeschool environment, and all of a sudden you're on this floor at a dorm with just all kinds of people. You're just not accustomed to that, and it's difficult to transition to that. So I would recommend in the big schools to look at just a smaller environment that'll work for you.
And we have that at Wayne State. It's called learning communities, where students are able to live and learn in the same community. So perhaps a student is in engineering or the Honors College or the Mike Ilitch School of Business. They're actually on the same floor in the resident hall.
Oh, that would be great.
Yeah, so they're taking classes together. Some of them are roommates and they're living in the same area in the resident hall, and it really helps.
Yeah, you just need that kind of camaraderie that you see the same, when you go to classes every day and you never see the same person all day long. There's just lots and lots of people. That's just not an easy transition from high school where you know everybody.
Right.
So, well, let's see. Why don't we talk a little bit about actually how you get admitted to? Okay, now I think I have a school picked out. I want Green University or whatever. And how do I get admitted to Green, and what is my timing like?
Okay, absolutely. So typically students can apply for college at the end of their 11th grade year. The most popular time is the fall of their senior year. And so students would need to have their official transcripts and either their ACT or SAT scores sent to the college of their choice. At Wayne State University, our application is online, so students can go to wayne.edu to apply. We're also on the Common Application, so students are able to fill out an application for Wayne State through the Common App.
So what is the Common Application
again? So the Common App is an application system where students are able to apply for multiple schools at the same time. So they can select Wayne State and some of the other institutions, but they would fill out the application and it would be submitted.
Now, if I decide, well, I'd like to apply for these 6 schools, New Mexico and Florida, do I have to pay for an application fee for everyone on that Common Application that I send in?
That's a very good question. And yes, most colleges do have application fees, and yes, they would have to pay multiple application fees. However, if a student is eligible for a fee waiver, they can talk to their guidance counselor to see if they're eligible based on financial need. And Wayne State, as many other universities, will accept the fee waiver and waive the application fee.
That's very good information
Yes.
to know. So, and do students usually apply to 2 schools or 3 schools?
I see students applying to multiple schools, and a lot of times students will say, well, I only want to apply to my number 1 choice. I always tell students to apply for a school in your hometown and apply for multiple schools, because many schools have various admissions guidelines, and they may or may not be admissible to their number 1 choice.
So if I wait is it better if I wait for my senior semester grades to come in to apply, or just rely on my junior and 10th grade grades?
I would apply at the beginning of the senior year, and there's benefits to applying early. You may be eligible for scholarships. You don't want to miss those deadlines. You definitely don't want to miss the admissions deadline. The thing about it, if a student applies and let's say they're not admissible, many schools will request a 7-semester grade so that we can look at the 12th grade and reconsider them for admissions.
So they're better off to take what they have and apply, and then if the school wants more, they'll add that extra semester of grades in.
Absolutely.
Is there any other admissions advice that a parent would need to know?
I would really encourage them to apply early, pay attention to college application deadlines, definitely tour various colleges to see which college is the best fit, and also to look for scholarships. So at Wayne State University, merit-based scholarships are awarded at the time of admissions, and so that's very important to know.
I remember we did another seminar, and I believe Daisy said that some people pass up a scholarship. They don't accept it, thinking they're getting a different scholarship. Do students often do that? I guess my question might be for Michelle.
Sometimes they do, but I always encourage students to accept the scholarship that they've been offered, you know, and then look at the various options.
Later. So, well, so now we've gotten some guidelines on admission. How are we doing on financial aid, Michelle?
So the time to apply for financial aid actually coincides very well with the application for admission. It used to be you would have to wait to file your FAFSA until after January of your senior year of high school, and they've recently changed that. So now you can apply after October 1 of your senior year high school. So you can apply for the FAFSA, and
why don't you just tell us what FAFSA stands for?
Absolutely. The FAFSA stands for the Free Application for Federal Student Aid.
It's a big title. No wonder no one says it.
I know, and then its acronym is FAFSA, which is hard to say also.
Oh, wow.
So they're really not helping themselves there. The FAFSA is a free application, which is important because it is something that you fill out online. However, you need to make sure when you're online finding that application that you've gone to the correct website.
Really?
Correct. The website to file that FAFSA is fafsa.gov because it is a federal form. However, if you go to a different website with FAFSA in the title, they may allow you to put in all the same information. However, they'll charge you between $50 to $75 to actually file it at the end.
Is it like those free credit ones that you fill in, the free credit report ones that aren't free?
The hard part is that students and families, when they get to the to the end, they just want that sense of accomplishment, and so some will actually pay the fee.
Right, because they've filled it all in.
Right. So you want to make sure you start with the right website.
Well, that's excellent advice.
So when you're on there, it's going to ask you things about the family size, the parents. It's going to ask for income information. It used to be you would just be looking for 1 year's prior IRS information, but now it's 2 years prior. So you don't need to worry about whether or not you've completed your taxes for that year. It's all set and done.
It was new, right?
Yep, that's one of the new changes. One of the other things that's come into being within the last couple years is they've put in an IRS data retrieval tool, which will allow a family to take their information directly from the IRS and pull it onto the FAFSA. So you may not even have to look at your tax forms while filing this anymore. You'll just need to put in the correct information and all of the data will fall right into place.
That is very impressive.
It is fantastic, especially because then once that information comes into the school is given an indicator to know that that information is correct. And there'll be very limited reasons then why any school would have to ask you for additional tax information.
That's very impressive. And what about people concerned a little bit about security and the information flow? Is there some recommendation not to use a public computer for this kind of form?
I do think that when you're filing the FAFSA, you do want to pay attention to where you're filling it out. You are putting in social security numbers, so you do need to be wary of that. You'd want to do it in a place where you'd be able to relax a little bit, make sure that you don't have people scoping behind you.
Not at Starbucks or...
Not at Starbucks. I haven't heard of anybody doing it on a tablet yet in a car, but I would say not that either. You do want to take some time and make sure that you're doing your best to fill out the form.
Not on the tablet when you're driving.
Exactly. Now, when you get to the end of the FAFSA, it's going to ask you for what schools you want that form sent to. And students can put in, I believe, up to 20 schools now. So you really can have it sent to a lot of places. And when a student puts in that school, at that point, it's going to go to those different places, and schools will then use that to help package their financial aid. So a student shouldn't be surprised if they haven't contacted a school or filed for admission, and then you have their application for financial aid sent there. That school will now know that you're interested in them, and they'll want to reach out to you as well.
So that's a good idea to do that. So.
Absolutely. When it comes to packaging students and putting together a full financial aid package for them, we're looking at not only their admissions application along with their transcripts to see whether or not they qualify for merit aid, but we're looking to see what sort of federal financial aid dollars they qualify for and determine whether or not they're eligible for any need-based institutional funds also.
Now, is this true for the four-year schools and the community colleges?
The community colleges do look at the FAFSA, and they're looking at that for their federal financial aid eligibility. community colleges oftentimes don't have the same amount of institutional aid, but we'd hate for a student to pass up on getting free money from the federal government that they won't have to pay back because they haven't filed the FAFSA. So it's always a good idea.
To do that, even if they're considering a community college to do it also.
Correct.
And I know in your notes you mentioned something about verification, which I don't know what that is.
Well, the federal government has a process called verification, and they select a number of FAFSAs every year and require schools to check to make sure that the information that's on the FAFSA is correct. So when a student has been selected for verification, they'll see that at the end of their FAFSA. There'll be a little note there from the federal government that says school will be asking you for some additional information. And what schools will do is they will send out a letter asking for the individual pieces of information that we need so that we can just check off to make sure that the FAFSA is correct. Again, if the student or the family have used that IRS data retrieval tool, we won't be asking any of those tax information pieces because we know that those have been transferred and haven't been changed.
Great. Is there any other information that we've kind of left out that we should mention today in the show on? We talked about verification and...
I think when it comes to the application, getting that in as early as possible is helpful because this family wants to have a financial aid package in their hand to help them compare their different options to determine what they're going to be eligible for. So when it comes to when can you file a FAFSA, you can file it as early as October 1st of that senior year. When do you want to do it? I'd say as soon as possible because you want to make sure you have the money, the information about how much a family or a student will receive in hand to help make their decision before May.
Great information. I just want to review a little bit. If we have questions about admissions and someone would like to contact Wayne State, how would they do that?
They can email the admissions office at admissions@wayne.edu, or they can give us a call at 313-577-2100.
Right. And is that true for financial aid too? Is it the same number? Or?
It's the same phone number.
Okay.
Our email address is studentservice@wayne.edu, and you can give us an email. We also have people available at the Welcome Center at Wayne State University at the corner of Woodward and Warren. People can come on in and ask us a question.
And the Welcome Center is kitty corner from the DIA, or how far down is it on Woodward there? In front of the new Q line?
We do have a Q
Yes.
line station right outside our door.
And the Welcome Center is a big facility. It's got a big welcome sign, and so someone can come down there and browse around a little bit and get information.
Yeah, they can also meet with an admissions counselor
That would be
at the
great.
Welcome Center.
So they could take a Q line ride, meet with the admission officer, go to the DIA.
And take a tour of campus.
And take a tour of campus. It's all right there. You know, that would be great. Well, both of you, LaJoyce and Michelle, have been very informative. Both of you have been with Wayne State for many, many years and lots of experience. And I know there's some really great tips that we've mentioned in our program today. So the Committee for Youth and Family really appreciates both of you coming. And we hope our guests and our viewers will tune in to another show of CYS.